9 podcasts.
T-minus 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Freddie.
Hey, Russ.
Now, Freddie, and I want you to give me your thinking on this. So, the city of Melbourne, I come from Melbourne, as you know, and the city of Melbourne, we've basically had a protest every single weekend. But this most recent Saturday, 50% of the normal takings of the shops, the restaurants, etc., was down because there was a protest throughout the city. So 50% is quite a lot. So I've received a text from a friend whose partner has a newsagent, and she would normally make profit $450 on a Saturday. She made $90 on the Saturday. And there's this overwhelming feeling that that the city really is struggling, and it's struggling because of a number of reasons, but a very high-profile reason is that the protesters are ensuring that people don't come into the city, right? So the weekend means half your takings. Now, my question is to you. You live in New York now. You are the mayor of New York. What would you do if the city of New York was down 50%? In terms of its takings, and your profit has gone from 450 to 90. What do you reckon you're going to do?
Well, I mean, it's a tricky position because of the phrasing there. I guess, like, the protesters, they're there to disrupt, to make noise, and to, I guess, hope to inspire change in that regard. So it's not like this is some incidental, they're getting the achieved result here in that it's ruffling feathers and we're saying, oh, well, this can't go on. I think to that they'd say exactly right. Putting myself in the position of Mayor of New York, I mean, is there a way to intervene could you come up with a smarter sort of, I don't know, is there a way to get the businesses involved? They may not want to be involved in the protests, but is there a way to sort of direct all that foot traffic into the businesses, maybe, I wonder?
Oh, there we go, right. Or you might get a little protest ticket. As you enter the city as a protester, you get a little voucher. And that voucher means that you can go to any of the local outlets and pay twice as much for being in the street and disrupting the economy. Well, of course, New York City, in New York, you've got a massive advantage because, a protest can be in Central Park and right. as a result, not really interrupt, the streets. So, I mean, one of the really interesting facts around the city of Melbourne was the planners, when they were originally planning it, they determined not to have a city square because they didn't get this. They didn't want anywhere for people the riffraff, I think is what they were referred to. They didn't want a place for the riffraff to go. So, of course, the planners, so that's when there was a thriving, the CBD of Melbourne was growing at a rapid rate and people just cared about commerce back in those days, right? They didn't really care about anything else. So, they used to wander down Burke Street and Collins Street spending money. So making money, spending money. So now we're in a situation where that isn't the case. And I think the price we're paying is that there is no town square, right? There's no central spot whereby, yes, it's the town square, so therefore it's an important bit of infrastructure, but it's designed, that is the place that you go. So you can sort of say, well, why don't the protesters, I'm with you, the right to protest, of course, right? Of course. So go to Flagstaff Gardens or, I've been wondering about exhibition, maybe in front of the exhibition buildings. Exhibition buildings, of course, were the original federal parliament in 1901. So there is a political element to the building itself. Maybe that's the solution. But what I am very, very anxious about is the economy, and, after September 11, Freddie, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because you as a young man, you can see the footage of September 11 and you know the footage as well as I know the footage. But what you don't know is the feeling. Yeah. And imagine being a New Yorker. I mean, here I am on the other side of the earth and I remember the feeling just, as if it was happening to me right now. I'm getting it I'm getting it throughout my body right now, of just the sheer shock, terror, horror, all those words to describe it. Now, but one of my great memories of that time, I reckon 48 hours after September 11, Giuliani was the mayor, yeah, and he said, okay, get out and start spending money, right? Because the city, you can't have a city that's stopped, because a city that's stopped is on its way to going the wrong way, So he really implored New Yorkers to get back on the streets and get the green back out and start spending money, because the money go round needs to keep going round. So here we are 2 years down the track, and we still haven't got anyone saying, we need to get moving.
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose that would be, by design, really, isn't it? They're hoping that, the public here, if it's by them or through the disruption, would start to empathise with what's going on elsewhere around the world. But I wonder if it is something like, if it is, so clearly in their mind that they are looking to disrupt small business. I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
I think it's probably, if you look at the layout of the city, you've got through the Melbourne sort of a slight hill incline leading right up to Parliament. Like, it's almost designed for, Mr. Smith goes to Washington. You feel like you're ascending to, it's designed for protests, you might say.
Yeah. Well, you're right in that it is a beautiful design up Burke heading towards Parliament. Of course, Burke is where you go shopping. Collins is where you make money. At the top of Collins is the Treasury, of course. And then if you go then over to the left towards Carlton, that's where you got the Trades Hall. So I've always loved that about the layout of the city of Melbourne. If you're standing in Burke Street Mall, you look straight ahead of you, you can see Parliament. And if you, as the crow flies, if you look at 2 o'clock from the Burke Street Mall, that's where the Treasury is, and keep on drawing the line out. There's some blue seats all the way along there. And then if you're still in the Burke Street Mall, and then at 10 o'clock is the Trades Hall, and it's red seats all the way through there. So it's one of the it's so interesting, is it not? Anyway, right? So can advertising solve this problem that I've got? Is there an advertising campaign, or is there a campaign of some sort that says, okay, we actually need to allow people to get on with earning a living? Just one more on this, whilst you think of the advertising campaign. We spoke to a restaurateur today, and he said, perhaps the thing that people are missing is that it's the lost shifts. So he's a very successful restaurateur. He's always done very well. He said, look, I'm still going okay. However, if you've got 75 bookings on a Saturday, and then during the course of the morning on a Saturday, 50 people cancel, you end up having 25 people that you're feeding, and as a result, you have to cancel those that are the casual workers that are going to come in and be the waiter, waitresses, cooking hands. So they are actually the people that pay. Yeah, it's the hand-to-mouth employees, casual workers, who all of a sudden don't have a shift.
Yep, it's a very good point, and the truth of it, if me being the political strategist that I am, though, I think if you were to go to the protesters and say, who's really suffering here is all my employees, I think that sort of casts you as almost like a bit of the fat cat, like I'm the owner here. So like, I think it does probably need to be an elected official, someone who has already expressed and demonstrated their support for the Palestine marches, that they need to be getting up the front, and it needs to be someone with, cred, street cred.
Within that sector.
Yeah, everyone, it's so great that you're here. Whilst we are here, pay a bit of mind to our local businesses, drop in, see if you can't buy something on the way home. I think that is the mature and least controversial way to handle it, probably.
There we go. Yeah, and I like that. I like that. So just the band leaders just request some economic activity on the way home. Like it.
Yep. It's
right. And I reckon there's an ad in that too, Freddie. Right? There's got to be some sort of persuasive bit of communication around that. I like it. Very good. So, Freddie, what are we doing today?
Today I've got a few things I want to run you through, Russ. Bumble has a new brand campaign. I want to chat about that
Great.
John Lewis ad that you shared with me, and to learn about its place as a retailer in Britain's culture. And a big bit of news over the past week as well was Apple released... announced a new suite of products that are coming to market. And lastly, I want to share with you a new chart contending for... this is our chart of the week, contending... So this is our second chart in the history. And let's see if it can't upset chart of the century.
Nice.
But so let's jump in with Bumble. So they recently just came out with a new campaign, shot in black and white. And it's called For the Love of Love. That's their new tagline. And we'll take a look at it in just a second, but it's tender, it's romantic, and it's a deliberate pivot back to sentimentality at a time when Gen Z is sort of burning out on swipe culture. Let's take a quick look.
I'm very much in love with you.
For the love of love. Bumble. Start your love story.
It's an ad, isn't it? It's an ad. Some sweet
But
music.
what's going on?
It's we're seeing couples, real life couples, interacting, holding hands, Eskimo kisses, hanging out with their friends, just tender moments. And towards the end of the ad, we see their names pop up, and essentially the message is all these real life couples met on Bumble, followed by the tagline For the Love of Love. So it's not a super interesting campaign, but it is in the context of Bumble's recent history. So you may remember about this time last year, Bumble went out with a very, provocative sort of peer-level conversation campaign, and a lot of the lines were around celibacy. Like, hey girls, let's be honest, the vow of celibacy was never right for you. Or like, hey girls, leave the convent. That sort of tone, that sort of posture.
Right, but promoting promiscuity or just promoting, fun and games?
I think it was looking at a generation who, again, still had a lot of swipe fatigue, and they were done with dating. That was
okay.
They were speaking to people who were supposedly done, saying, are you really done? Let's be honest with each other. Of course, there was a lot of backlash.
I see. Right.
Yes.
So you got swipe fatigue, and so why have I got swipe fatigue? So explain to me why I have swipe fatigue.
In a nutshell, because online dating and these sort of apps, they suck. Like, Russ, they're terribly, terribly inefficient. They have a huge user base, but the success rates on these things are so small. And so, yeah, a lot of people, I guess what they were responding to was the cultural moment where people were saying, we're done. These things suck, and we're not going to take it anymore. So after they went out with that campaign and all the backlash, they had to pull ads, apologize to domestic violence organizations and all that. It was a big bungle. So now they've come back to this point here. So I guess I'll first hit you with the question, Russ. What do you think of this new positioning For the Love of Love in this light?
Well, it's not as good as the other line that they use in the commercial. The other line being "Start your love story," and I would have thought that was a way better line than for the love of love is sort of it's like, what is it, Hallmark cards? It's like it's horribly saccharine.
Saccharine's a good word for it, actually.
Right, it is. However, start your love story. That's good. And as you know, if advertising actually creates an action, then you're going to get more action off the back of the advertising, right? So, start your love story is going to create, I think, more use of Bumble than For the Love of Love would, right? Because For the Love of Love, it's sort of it's a thought bubble, really, right? And okay, it's nicely shot. It's not a bad soundtrack, and I'm really pleased for those people. I mean, they look in love. Good on them, right? No, and I'm genuinely thrilled because in the end, you can spend a lot of time trying to find that person. And when you do find that person, that is, of course, one of the great joys in life, perhaps the joy in life. So why not, if you're in the business of connecting, why not actually go for the higher ideal, right? And it's nice to go for the higher ideal rather than, get one on, right? It's, well, someone's going to have to. The other part of it, I'm wondering, is there sort of like, God, dare I say it, is there a Charlie Kirk element to what's going on here with Gen Z? And there's this belief that there is a new wave of conservatism that is going. I mean, I did read something on the weekend saying that Gen Z, this is probably in the US context, Gen Z may well end up being the most conservative of generations we've had for a number of generations. I mean, because you can't call the boomers conservative, right? Because the boomers, of course, it was 1960s, the pill, and let's all just go nuts. While we're hallucinating on whatever's just being given to us at Woodstock, right? So, not particularly conservative. They became conservative over time, which is what happens. But I wonder, is there something going on here which is like a big wave of conservatism, which means that Bumble is saying, you know what, we're actually in the business of, let's call it traditional love. We're not in the business of, who can you find tonight?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I'd be reluctant maybe to draw a straight line between the conservatism of Gen Z and the spot, though it is interesting that in that spot we saw a couple that was pregnant and sort of, celebrating the pregnancy. It's really hard to imagine that having been a shot that was included in a dating app maybe a year ago. So maybe you are onto something there. It's an interesting take. So when I was thinking about this, I thought, well, who's doing really well at the moment? And the hot case study is Tinder. They've really turned their business around in recent years through their work with the agency Mischief. And their tagline at the moment is, "It starts with a swipe." And it's not saccharine at all. It's great visuals. It's really funny. And I like seeing this spot made me realise that what they haven't gone for in Tinder's case, they haven't gone for this sort of love, as you say, this saccharine sort of thing. They're actually not trying to convey love so much as they are optimism, as you put it there. They are trying to instill hope. And it really struck me there that that's what these sort of dating apps need to be really striking, sort of like as a tone, more important than loving and romantic, just needs to be pragmatism, like an optimism that like this does work. So there is an element, I guess, of Bumble's new campaign that I like, which is just, look, here's a couple, they're real, they have a kid on the way and they met on Bumble. There is like something good there, but I reckon they could push it even further to be like, so you should get on it too, or something like that.
Well, that's, I suppose, why I liked, start your love story, because you should get on it too, is, starting, right? But you've just reminded me that Tinder has got, it starts with a swipe. So if you've got Tinder saying it starts with a swipe, you sort of don't want to, use start as well. If you...
I can imagine they had it and they're like, should we run this? And I can imagine a lawyer said, how about for the love of love instead? Yeah, I know, can this be a subline or something?
Which is a pity, isn't it? Because, well, I'm just imagining, in the creative, in the agency client, although I see that a lot of this was in-house, the Bumble, so in-house plus special group, but I think you can see where the in-house bit is. Anyway, so, yeah, because it's not, it's a bit sort of AI generated in a way, It's like, so what was, I was with a fellow the other day, he was saying that what AI does, AI creates ads which are like a baby photo, like it's the brand's baby photo. So if you're Bumble, for example, and you say to AI, this is what I want, and what does AI do? It gives you exactly what you want. So there's no creative leap, right? It's not AI and something. It's just AI. So as the brand owner of Bumble, I get to look at that ad that we've just looked at, and it's like a baby photo. Oh, isn't he cute? Oh, that's exactly what I want. So it doesn't sort of matter whether the baby's ugly or, whatever. You just like it, right? Because it's giving you what you want, what you believe to be who and what you are in terms of an ad, right? Am I making sense?
Yeah,
right?
I'm with you.
Right, so that's what AI So if you ask AI to make a commercial, a Bumble commercial, and you say, we want to celebrate the couples that Bumble has created, well then bang, AI, that's what we've just seen.
I like it. It's a great take. And we do know for a fact actually that Bumble is putting a lot of stock in AI as well as an organisation. So I saw something a few weeks ago with the founder, Whitney Wolf Herd, very impressive person. But I think in an interview with like the Wall Street Journal, she admitted that, I would never have swiped right on my husband because she essentially admitted that these apps don't work. She said, no, it just doesn't look quite right. I just wouldn't have said yes. So her hope is that instead we're pretty soon going to be sending AI avatars into these apps to like act as our chaperones, to talk to other people's AI. And, it'll be loaded up with my dating history, my attachment styles and preferences and whatnot. And it will then serve me, who it thinks are appropriate matches based off that. What do you think of that?
That will definitely happen. Yeah, that's there's no question that that's going to happen. Whether it actually then turns into good relationships, who the hell knows, right? Because there's a mystery to it all, Freddie, as you know, right? There's the whole thing. One can only hope that the mystery won't be sort of, boiled down to your personal avatar going out there into the dating app world and finding someone else's personal avatar and Shazam, Tinkerbell's just gone boom with her magic wand and off you go. You got to hope that isn't what's going to happen, right? So back to Gen Z and their fatigue. I am interested in this. So if the Gen Z have got fatigue from the dating apps, are they now back to doing it in the old-fashioned way? Seeing who they bump into in a pub.
No, I think there's sort of culturally you can, and this is just my perspective of things. Culturally, there is a value to that seems on the internet. People are talking a lot about trying to meet someone at a bookstore. That's like the joke going around. So it does seem like people are valuing in-person interactions a lot more. But I think the truth of it, we know from the numbers, is that most young adult men have never asked anyone out in person. It's every day it gets worse and worse. We'll say that in terms of, it's tough to go up to someone nowadays for a Gen Z person and just to introduce yourself and ask them on a date, and it's becoming increasingly rare.
Isn't that just, that's legit sad. And I don't want to be like the old man on the microphone here, but that's legit sad because being brave to do, it does take a degree of bravery to do it, to walk up to, someone that you may know or may have just met and say, can I have your phone number, or would you like to go out for, Macca's or whatever? Actually that is a part of just learning about, just in life's interactions.
It makes you a better partner as well, I'm sure. It's funny, you will remember last week we were talking about beta blockers, and I was stuck with this question of does it matter if people are taking pills so they don't get nervous anymore? But I think dating is an excellent example of, I can think of all the times that, I fell flat on my face during, my dating days. And I think that made me a better partner and a better person over time. Certainly a lot more empathetic to other people's humiliations and whatnot. I think it's very important that people go out there and, experience some light but hopefully kind rejection. It's an important part of growing up.
And having the hard conversation, that's also an important part of growing up, like you're dropped, those sort of those sort of conversations, they're important,
Oh, imagine that, taking a beta blocker and then saying, I don't think it's working out. And just feeling nothing throughout that. That's insane. That should be illegal.
Yeah, but Brave New World, Soma. Like we're all just walking around on Soma. That's what's going on, right? Oh my good God. Anyway, I feel for Gen Z. Okay, so if they are on their way to being a highly conservative generation, which may not be true, that was just a speculation that I read, a conservative generation that's finding it very hard to have, those interpersonal conversations, those tough conversations. Goodness me, we need to do something about that. That doesn't play out that well, does it, really?
No,
I mean, I'm
never.
sure they'll be fine. I'm sure they'll be fine. But wow.
John Lewis, so you actually shared this with me the other day, a celebration of its 100 years in business. First off, could you, to help me place this, before we watch the spot, what is John Lewis for our listeners, and what sort of role does it play in Britain?
Well, John Lewis is a very famous advertising line, never knowingly undersold. So it always had a price proposition, right? And yet it it never really promoted itself as particularly down market. It was just it's a mid-market store, Myer, right? It's a mid-market store that people have got strong affiliations with. It's quite interesting. Certainly in the UK, they love they love retail. You know, they love going shopping, and they love they love the high street. That is precisely the right word, Freddie, because they always talk about the high street. Seemingly every town and every village and every city's got a high street, and they connect to their retail brands very strongly. And then of course we know that the retail executives from the UK, a lot of them come out to Australia, and they do really well off the back of bringing their what do they say? It's a nation of shopkeepers, don't they? Britain, it's a nation of shopkeepers, yeah, and so. They have very strong, like a Marks and Spencer. They've got a great affiliation with a Marks and Spencer. And many, many years ago, when I was working in the UK, the agency I was at, Low Howard Spink, won the Tesco business, and Tesco was a fascinating advertising case study where we, the agency Tesco, employed Dudley Moore, the famous Dudley Moore, to be in this series of advertisements where he went around the world trying to find the best quality goods to bring back to the British consumer at a Tesco outlet. So he was hunting the best free-range chickens. Hunting probably not the best word. He was trying to find the very best free-range chickens, and as a result, he'd stumble across great salami and amazing cantaloupes. Right? Anyway, it was sort of mad, but the public just consumed the advertising, and they fell in love with Tesco. Was very much something of a down market supermarket, and then through advertising and of course re-engineering their supply chains, etc., they created a icon. And yeah, they love their retail icons. John Lewis is one of those. Every Christmas, you'll get your John Lewis commercial. I was interested in this ad for only one reason, really, Freddie, and it's a conversation we've had many times before. Sometimes no idea doesn't matter, right? And this is a style of advertising that we've seen 100 times before. But if you get the right soundtrack, you get the right director, you get the right casting, you get the right editor, you can actually have a beautiful impact. I think, right? I'm not saying this is a 10 out of 10 piece of advertising, but it's sort of 7.5, maybe 8. Purely because it's well made, no more than that.
It's beautifully made. It's just a 100-second film tableau, apparently inspired by those Renaissance artworks where they're just like incredibly detailed, and they're sort of public city streets, capturing 100 years of British domestic life, just people of all ages from different time periods, rainy barbecues, kitchen tables, and apparently every product that you see in this is from John Lewis from today.
Well, of course.
And from the archive. So it's nice. Let's just take a quick look.
Charleston was once the rage, History has turned the page, The miniskirt's the current thing,
Next stop is Oxford Circus.
Teeny Bopper is our newborn king,
I mean, really.
And the beat goes
Really?
on.
It's nothing, but it's grouse.
Goes on.
I tell you the word that it's daggy in the best possible way and at the best possible time, I think, as well. Like, so when you sent this,
right.
when you sent this to me, it was sort of a day. It was the day actually of I think it was the 9/11 memorial sort of like day here in the US, and of course with Charlie Kirk and everything. I was, for the first time since being here in America, like it registered on me, I guess, the emotional cost of being in a place like this, where things just feel so politically hot and the news is so terrible and always, that when I saw this ad, I thought, oh, Britain's a great place, isn't it? It's
That's what it does, right?
Yeah, it just makes you feel safe. It's daggy, it's non-threatening, it's a little, it just felt nice to be in someone's living room, a part of someone's little sort of day-to-day. It hit me in exactly the right way.
And the music's beautifully produced. And it's just all about shot selection and music selection. And of course, maybe there's a bit of a nod to, I think it's The Player, isn't it? The movie The Player, which, the longest single, because it's a single camera shot, right? So it's a single camera shot, which is a filmic way to indicate time, right? So we're going to track along, and they're tracking along 100 years with a single camera shot, right? Well, that's what it looks like. There may well be some tricky edits going on there that I didn't notice. So there's that as well. So you're selling the ad, Freddie. So you're selling it to John Lewis. We're going to do a single camera shot, and we're going to go through 100 years of British history. We're going to have this amazing soundtrack, and away we go. It's going to cost you £1 million, but you know what? Cheaper twice the price, and away you go. And then the bit that I hadn't picked up was this notion of Renaissance, tableau. Each image itself, there's depth to each image. Again, I suppose yes, that does contribute to why I like it so much. And maybe there's a bit of nostalgia there for me as well. Nostalgia in, yes, there's that sort of passion for Britain and how it operates creatively, and I can imagine making exactly that commercial 35 years ago, right? There's nothing new. There's no new tricks in that at all. And it sort of reminds us of the Guinness commercial with The Rhythm of Life, which goes the other way. Starts today and goes back to when we're all slugs in the water. You know that one? One of my faves as well. Guinness Rhythm of Life, which is, again, it's just, going backwards rather than forwards as this one does. But you've also reminded me via your Renaissance comment of the film Barry Lyndon. I reckon Stanley Kubrick. And if you haven't seen it, see it. It is absolutely glorious, right? And pretty much every scene of the Stanley Kubrick filmed Barry Lyndon is like a Renaissance painting. And it is one bit of filmmaking. It's freaking glorious, right? It goes at a very slow pace. You've just got to maybe, I don't know, have a bottle of wine and just let it wash over you. Just let this thing wash over you and watch some, or maybe in my mind, the framing of, seemingly every single frame is just, oh my Lord. So go and check that out,
I will do. Your comment there is making me think about, it's reminding me of when we had Brent Smart on, CMO of Telstra, a couple of weeks ago. And the brilliant quote that he delivered, it's been rattling around in my brain ever since, is that craft is the contact surface between your business and the audience. It's the membrane through which your brand exists. And so when you say you don't need an idea, a beautifully made thing that rewards repeat viewing because it's so intricate and so complex and so deep in terms of there's something in every little part of the frame for you to have fun with. It is its own idea, and it can absolutely deliver business results, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, that's right. So I suppose Brent would agree with the notion that sometimes craft is the idea. By the way, the new Telstra stuff is outstanding. It's seriously good. So good on Brent. Away he goes. What else we got on, Freddie?
Apple. So this week, Apple unveiled the iPhone 17 as well as the iPhone Air, its thinnest iPhone ever, as well as the AirPods Pro 3, which, fun fact, they feature real-time language translation.
Yeah. Which nearly would get me over the line. I mean, I haven't had an Apple for 15 years. I got rid of them 15 years ago, but that would nearly get me over the line, I reckon.
Yeah, it's just insane. And they've also unveiled 3 new Apple Watches, all of which sort of emphasize health features. And Apple's actually coming out making some pretty large claims that they're about to, with the release of this new Apple Watch that they're going to be diagnosing sort of 3 million Americans with hypertension or something like that. So
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was, I guess we'll call it an iterative launch, but surprisingly afterwards, Apple stock fell by something like 1.5% after the event, extending a broader decline of 4% this year. And this is all just about AI. Everyone's just saying, oh, we don't care about foldable phones. We just want to hear what your AI plan is. So do you think the market is treating Apple fairly with this?
Yeah. I mean, but the other thing that we do know that Apple's always been exceptional at the follower. Yeah. So they add design to something that already exists. Okay. So I'm thinking about that. So they've been amazing at their hardware design and that really has been the core to their success, right? So what the market's looking for is not physical hardware design. The market must be looking for, system design, a brand new way to interact with Apple. I think we're all looking for that. I mean, just yet another phone that does the same thing and charge $2,000. But just because it's thinner, I mean, I'm not surprised that the market says yawn, although maybe I'm wrong.
So the use case that people keep saying, or I guess the near future that everyone is envisaging is that AI is going to come through and it's going to completely, it's going to kill the phone. We seem to be so certain that in 10 years my iPhone is completely irrelevant, and I'm just not sure about that. In the same way that, the difference between cars today and cars 10 years ago, cars 30 years ago, like little bits of improvements there, but like they've sort of reached their final form. Is it ridiculous for me to assume that my smartphone is, of course, going to improve in sort of, iterative little bits over the next couple of years and forever into the future, but I'm always going to have something like an iPhone in my pocket? Do I sound crazy when I say that?
No, you don't. And I do like that phrase, reached their final form. I mean, airlines, aircraft, they do come into mind. I mean, seriously, they reached their final form, 70 years ago? Seriously. All I'm doing is just getting worse food. I'm getting worse food. Right?
That's all you can expect.
Probably,
phone's getting worse.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting about that is I think we've always liked to carry something, right? So in our hand, I might have carried a newspaper. I don't carry a newspaper anymore. I might have carried a book. I don't really carry a book anymore. Or I might have my briefcase, or I might have just carried the tools of whatever trade that I was up to. So I think maybe there's something part of who and what we are. We like to carry things. Right? I don't know, right? And so if I'm not carrying...
I think this might be one of the smartest things you've ever said. It's so simple, but it's genius. We do like carrying things.
We like to carry things. So, so I like to carry my phone. So if I'm not carrying my phone because we've reached... I'm sure we've reached peak phone in a physical form, right? Okay, so it's going to get thinner. Who cares, right? So can I imagine what's life without carrying anything? Maybe I'll go back to carrying the newspaper or a notebook or something. So, okay, what's going to happen? I'm going to have glasses, aren't I? I'm going to be wearing glasses.
That's what people would like you to believe. That's the next thing.
Okay, so it might be glasses, and then when I get to my desk, my glasses connect with what's at my desk, but I don't need to be carrying around a phone and glasses and desk. So that I suppose I can see a world that does that. I mean, I'm quite excited about the glass thing. I actually haven't even tried them out, but I'm pretty keen to get involved with that. I reckon that sounds pretty good to me. Especially as you get a bit older, Freddie. So as you come towards me, my glasses can say that's Freddie. So I don't have to remember anyone's name, which is just going to be perfect. Sometimes you get a bit nervous about things like that.
Well, there might be, you might be the revolution then, the new customer that everyone is in search of, allegedly at the moment. But
yeah, you don't reckon it's going to happen, do you?
I'm skeptical. At the very least, I am impressed by Apple's restraint in a moment that feels quite over the top. Very speculative at the moment. I think they're right to... people talk about how addicted they are to their phones, and I think we're a little too quick to assume that people are going to drop this thing that they are currently addicted to. Where they're like, oh, yeah, no, I'm just going to have an Amazon Alexa sort of in my room following me around as a drone or whatever. Like, people really like their phones. But I don't think they're going to put them down anytime soon.
Well, I tell you, I on the weekend, I saw this young father. He's got the brand new baby in the pusher, and he's on the corner of, Punt Road and Bridge, and he's press the button to cross. And he literally has got no interest in the baby at all. He's just there with his phone scrolling through. I'm going, that is a brand new baby. And you're in charge of that brand new baby. And if mum could see you now whilst you're sort of like taking no notice.
Next to an intersection as well.
on the corner of one of the busiest intersections certainly in Melbourne, right? It was, oh my God. Now, I have been known to give parental advice to...
oh, God.
I tell you a fun story. We're at a party. We're at a party, and there was this young couple, not that young actually, just sort of probably a couple it was their first baby. Let's say they would have been mid-30s, right? And they've got their first baby. And their first baby, or their baby, really was crying a lot, right? And clearly was just not very happy. And so in the end, I didn't know them. And in the end, I just said to the mum and to the father, listen, come with me. I want to show you something. Right? So anyway, I showed them how to, just get the baby comfortable. Yeah. They were so grateful, Freddie. They were genuinely grateful because because someone's got to teach. No one teaches you. No one, when you wait, when you become a father, that first day, when baby comes home, you look at each other and you say, what the fuck, right? You have no clue what to do. No one teaches you anything, right? It's so interesting. I mean, given that we don't live across generations anymore, so I suppose if we lived across generations, then, babies would be around you all the time. But certainly for us, we're a baby-friendly sort of people. But it's frightening. It's frightening. So if someone gives you a bit of a hand, actually you're quite grateful. So I was very tempted to tell this young fella that, you know what, maybe put the phone away. But I didn't. You'll be pleased to know I didn't.
That's awfully restrained of you. Very mature.
Yeah, I was very restrained of me. Oh, but my God. It was, I felt for the baby, Honestly, what's going to happen to that baby? Right? It'll have an iPad before, at 6 months.
Yeah, it'll have its own screen. Don't worry, he's going to be fine. He'll be on Flappy
Yeah, but here's the
Birds
thing. This is also true. You know that there is an issue with long sight development, right? So modern babies, they're all got amazing short-sighted development. Their short sight is developed and developed incredibly well. But as a result, their long vision isn't developed because they've got their face up against a fucking screen all the time. Serious. It's true. That's not a speculative, bit of nonsense. That's checked, not unchecked. It's true.
Oh, God, that's awful to imagine.
Right? Can you imagine that? I mean, so when your mum said to you, stop sitting so close to the television, Freddie, she knew instinctively because she's your mother. There's an advertising campaign here, isn't there? There's got to be. Like, please, look at your kid, not at your screen. Are we going to edit all this out, Jen? Anyway, she said no, Freddie. We've got a chart to have a quick look at. Is that right?
We've got a chart. And maybe this is, I was, when thinking about Apple and how people should not count it out just yet, I thought of a chart that I shared with you a couple of weeks ago. So, Russ, if you have it up in front of you now, we're looking at a chart from the Wall Street Journal and the Federation of the Swiss Watch Industry. And this is a chart entitled Swiss Watch Exports by Price Range Since the Apple Watch Launch. So we're comparing 2015 to 2024, and you'll see that the number of Swiss watches that are sort of around from 0 or let's say below 500 Swiss francs in terms of price, exports have fallen by about half since 2015. So the Apple Watch has comfortably swallowed about half of the market in that range. So I want us to look at that, and I want us to remember that Apple is very, very good at their job.
Yeah, I'd like it, Freddie. So, okay. So when we look at science fiction, it does predict the future in many cases. So there was so Dick Tracy was a cartoon probably made in the 50s or the 60s. And of course, what did Dick Tracy do? Well, Dick Tracy had a watch, and that watch spoke to other people's watches. And, and you'd watch that as watching a cartoon to go, oh my God, look at that. That watch is talking to someone else's watch. So what was science fiction has become reality. So going back to your previous question with regard to, okay, so is the phone going to be replaced by some amorphous thing? So in science fiction, what is the signal that science fiction has given us on what the future looks like? Now, that's a question without notice, Freddie, and I'm thinking as I'm talking, okay, I'm probably surrounded by HAL. I'm surrounded, aren't I, by HAL, I think, in Space Odyssey. In Interstellar, one of the greatest films ever, we've got the walking robot, don't we? Mm-hmm. And that walking robot is our assistant. I don't even know whether it had a name. Did it have a name? Can't remember. But do you remember that robot?
I remember that robot, yes, very well.
Yeah, beautiful design, that rectangular design. It was so clever.
It was sort of like quite brutalist. You're of course expecting sort of a humanoid thing, but they gave you a block instead. That was cool.
Yeah.
I think the common theme amongst all these examples you've given, and in a lot of other things as well, is that the information follows you. That from device to device, it recognizes me, it knows who I am, so it can jump from that. So maybe that's what we're sort of looking at. We'll still have the Apple Watch, we'll still have the phone, and we'll still have the computer. It's just they don't act like separate devices. They're all friends, and they're all the one thing, and it's just jumping from thing to thing.
So tell me about New York retail, back to retail. So how many stores are there in New York where you walk in, it recognises who you are, and you just pick up whatever you want to pick up and walk out? So is that happening at all?
No, at Whole Foods you have the opportunity to scan your palm, and that's how you pay for things. But yeah, those all those sort of get watched by the camera, put it in your cart, don't talk to anyone. Those never really took off. They were hyped, but they turned out to be much too expensive.
I am so up for Tasmania becoming the world's first and only analog state. I really am.
I really. It's funny you say this. I was not 2 hours ago. I was at the supermarket, and I was in line for the self-service things, and there was another line for the actual cashier, and a man who looked otherwise very normal but was wearing a bucket hat, well over his eyes, leaned over to me and he said, they take photos of you, right? And I said, but he said, those machines, they take photos of you. And I said,
I know.
Yes, yeah, I'm aware of that actually.
When I was on the streets of Melbourne, sort of investigating the protests as we spoke about, I had a similar chap come up to me, and he was very keen to talk to me about the dark hand. So I had a long conversation about the dark hand, Freddie. Anyway, I'll tell you about that another time. Good to see you.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Russ.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe to Admission wherever you get your podcasts.
And follow us on Instagram at Admission Podcast. You can send us a message, an ad, an idea, anything you reckon we should talk about.
You can also follow me, Russell Howcroft, on X or LinkedIn. And of course, you can hear me on 3AW Breakfast every morning with the inimitable Ross Stevenson. Chat to you next week, Freddie.
See you, Russ.